Okay, we will start the session. In today's session, we are going to talk about boiler efficiency calculations. Okay. Okay, we are talking about boiler efficiency calculations. And before going to talk about a boiler efficiency calculation, you should know something about the boilers. Or else directly, if you enter, if you didn't understand what is happening in the boilers and why it is required, and if you don't know the background of the particular topic, obviously, learning boiler efficiency calculations are not, not that much of helpful for you. And another important thing is that, for example, whatever you learn regarding calculations, it is always not a matter. Okay, how to reach the calculations, why those calculations are required is only the thing that you need to require. Okay, as a process engineer, what are the calculations that are required? That is good enough. Okay, no need to remember what is the equation, okay, or doing that using a calculator, or you're using an Excel sheet, or you're using any MATLAB to develop that kind of programs. It's completely up to you. Okay, but why you have to reach up to those boiler efficiency calculations, all those things are very important. And we are going to complete today's topic based on as an interview topic. For example, let's say if you write boiler efficiency calculations or a boilers in your resume, okay, so what are the minimum things that you need to know in order to write a particular concept in your resume? Not only the boilers, for example, if you write heat exchangers, or if you write distillation column, or whatever the expertise column is there in your resume. So whatever the thing that you write, what are the basic things that you need to build up there? So that is a very important thing. Okay, I think hope you're all, everybody knows my name. I think some of the people are new, completely new. There are some old students also there. So myself, Shivaji Tota, I'm a founder and CEO of Ahara Technologies. Today I am giving a lecture on boiler efficiency calculations, which is a part of mini diploma. It is a one of the lecture in a mini diploma course. Okay, so first of all, before going to start anything, what is a boiler? Okay, so first of all, you should know what is a boiler. So there are many definitions are there. Okay, each and everybody can have their own customized customized definition in order to explain. So here there is a random, okay, there is a textbook definition is there. It is an enclosed vessel that provides a means of combustion heat to be transferred into water until it's become steam, because until it's become a steam. So in order to generate a steam from the water, we have to transfer a heat. So in order to transfer heat to the water, that particular water, there is an equipment, there is an enclosed vessel. That vessel is called a boiler. Okay, you can justify your definition as like your own. For example, if you read any mechanical engineering book, the terminology is different. If you if you read some chemical engineering, the terminology is different, because the boilers is a concept which is related to both mechanical and as well as chemical engineering students, and it is very important process engineering concept also. Why? Because the boiler is a place where the entire utility generation, okay, there is whatever the utility generation that is there, that is happening at the boiler. Okay, so that is a very important thing. Very huge amount of energy, huge amount of energy consumption, very huge amount of temperature changes, heat transfer, radiation, convection, heat transfer. So all the chemical engineering concepts are going to be happen at the boiler itself. Okay, all the concepts need to be applied at the boiler in order to go for a better boiler efficiency. So that is the reason each and everyone should know about the boilers. Most of the time, this concept of boiler had a very lesser part in our engineering, or in in further studies, or some other things. But the boiler is a very, very important thing. Okay, so basically the boiler is a concept. It is under a part of steam engineering. Okay, there is a concept called steam engineering is there. So the steam engineering, under steam engineering, boiler is one of the concept. Okay, understanding a boiler is one of the concept, and there is another concept in steam engineering, that is steam system. Okay, that how you have to take over the steam from one place to one place, and what are the things that you need to take care of. What is the things that you need to take during a water hammer. So what are all the problems, steam distribution. So all those things will come into the steam system. When you would like to be an expertise in utilities, okay, only when you are talking about utilities or energy integration related kind of job, then the steam systems are very important. Okay, and then the third thing is that fuels and boiler efficiency calculations will be also comes as this steam engineering. So in today's topic, we are going to talk a little bit about a boiler, and we are going to talk about the boiler efficiency calculations, because the steam engineering is not a chemical engineering part. Okay, it is combination of both instrumentation. The steam system is a combination of both instrumentation and as well as a mechanical and as well as a chemical. So many disciplines are coming to the picture. When you are an expert of having 10 years or 15 years of experience in that, at the time, okay, the steam systems, okay, you can be understand the steam system. Okay, there is a little bit of minimum knowledge is also required, but we are not going to discuss about the steam system. We are discussing about the boilers, and as well as we are discussing about these fuels and as well as the boiler efficiency calculations in a today's session. Okay, now for example, if you are using water to generate steam, that is called a steam generator. Okay, that is called a steam boiler. For example, if you are using the same thing, the same fuel to generate hot water also, that is called hot water boiler or hot water generator. Okay, if you generate steam, that is a steam generator. If you generate water, that is a hot water. Okay, just based on the thing that you are generating. Okay, now tell me why we require steam. Okay, why? What is the? I mean, you may have some idea that why you require steam in a process industry. So please enter that in a chat box. What is your answer? Why we require steam, and that means what is the application? Okay, what is the application of steam? Okay, please tell me what is the applications that you know in a chat box. Yeah, I'm waiting. Electricity. Okay, nice answer. And next, generation of electricity, heating. Any other answers? Heating purpose. Use it as a utility to provide heating to the dry boilers, heating of processing fluids, vacuum. This is a utility that mostly used for heating purpose. Yeah, to heat a material, concentrating, moisturization, turbines. Okay, so yeah, because people are talking about in terms of process point of view, and somebody is talking about in terms of equipments, concentrating, mass transfer operation. So they have some idea. They have some idea that the importance of what is the applications. Okay. Now the first thing is that I would like to mention, in a one by one, like process heating. Okay, somebody has already mentioned the process heating. So what is this process heating? Process heating, nothing but there is a process fluid is there within your process industry. In order to reach a certain temperature or certain pressure, certain process requirement, you required some heat exchangers. We are using some heat exchanger or some other kind of equipment to reach their operating pressures and operating temperatures. Okay, so that is the one thing. The application of steam is to process of heating. That is the one thing. And the second thing is that the process of cooling. Okay, many people miss the word. Okay, nobody mentioned the process of cooling. What is process of cooling? Why you require steam during the process of cooling? If you go for a refrigeration, there is a vapor absorption cycle is there. Okay, if you understand vapor absorption cycle, in that you can understand what is the importance of steam to produce a cooling effect also. Okay, the process heating is there, and as well as the process cooling is also there. And then we are using the steam in a pharma and as well as a food. Okay, in pharma and as well as a food for direct contact. Okay, there is no, up to now the process heating or process cooling that we talk about indirect contact. But when you are manufacturing some kind of things in a pharma and as well as some food products, okay, in a large, we require steam is a direct heating. So at the time you require a very purified steam. Okay, very purified, very hygiene steam is required to use in a pharma and as well as a process things. Okay, and then we require steam for industrial HVAC system. Okay, we required for industrial HVAC system, heating, ventilation, air conditioning. Okay, so for example, for heating purpose, you required steam. And then humidity control. Okay, you require in order to there is some dehumidifiers. Okay, in order to control the humidity percentage in a particular processing fluid or in a particular item, then you are using this steam also. Okay, so these are some things that you are going to use. Okay, process heating, process cooling, pharma and food, and then HVAC system, and as well as the last one is humidity control. Okay, and there is somebody mentioned about power plants. Okay, thermal power plants also. Okay, for thermal power plant generation, you require steam. Okay, and there is a captive power plants. Okay, there is a captive power plants. The captive power plants is nothing but, okay, for your industry, other than getting a power from power from industrial lines or from the government or from the some commercial end, we are creating your own current for your own electricity for your purpose of running a plant. Those things are called captive power plants. Okay, so that you are doing for your own purpose. Okay, that is captive power plant. And there is a cogeneration plants. Okay, cogeneration plants is nothing but along with electricity, we are producing steam also. Electricity plus the steam, low pressure steam for the process applications. So that is called cogeneration plants. And there is some trigeneration plants are there. In a trigeneration plants, we are using a single fuel in order to generate electricity, in order to generate a steam. So these trigenic plants are giving very huge amount of efficiency. Okay, they are very high efficient compared to any kind of system when it comes to the boiler. The most efficient boilers or most things will be there in a trigeneration unit. Okay, in a trigeneration units. And then there are some laundry applications are there. Okay, like for example in a hotels, okay, for vessel cleaning or other kind of things. In a very large hotel, there are some IBR regulated boilers or hot water boilers are there to generate a hot water. And then industrial furnaces also required. So like this, there are many things out there. When you are talking about a steam, when you are talking about the importance of boiler to generate a steam, there are very huge. Okay, not only just by having some some random things. Just say like this: process heating, process cooling, and then thermal power plant. So whenever you answer something, it should be very professional. Okay, answer like this. Okay, so those are the things are there. And so these are the applications related to steam. Why the steam is required? Okay, these are the applications. Okay, and then other than this, I think I didn't miss anything. Yeah. So if you look at this particular, here in the presentation, I mentioned what are the heavy users, medium users, and then light users. Food, pharma, oil, chemicals, plastic, paper, pulp, sugar, textiles, metal processing, rubber, shipbuilding, and then power generation are required very huge amount of consumption of steam. When it comes to the medium, HVAC system, cooking, chilling, all these things, cleaning, drying, all these things come under medium. And then very light, electronics, horticulture, humidifying. So this is the percentage. I mean, like heavy users, medium users, light users. Okay. So these are the applications of a steam. And now, when you are talking about a steam, when you are generating using a water, somebody can tell me why you have to use a water. Okay, by combusting some fuel, you are giving heat to the water to convert as a steam. By maybe the latent heat of taking latent heat or sensible heat, we are giving some energy to a water. Okay, why only water? Why you have to choose only water? Why should not go for other kind of chemicals or other things? Okay, Thamjit said it's easily available. Okay, it's a right answer. One of the things is it's easily available. It's evaporate quickly. Okay, not a right answer. Okay. Next, highest specific heat. Okay, as Deepak said, it's having highest specific heat. Cheap. Okay, as Martin said, it's a cheap. It is available easily. High calorific value. Okay, not a calorific value. Okay, calorific value is then nothing but when you are burning that. Okay, whatever the energy that is releasing, that is considered the calorific value. Okay, it is not a calorific value. The cost. Okay, most of the people. Okay, when the people are saying in the first 5 to 6 answers, they said exactly right. Okay, many answers are right except that calorific value, and as well as another thing is like something. Okay, which is I already told what is wrong in it. So why you have to use the steam? The first thing is that it is having highest specific heat. Okay, highest specific heat. Okay, other than using highest word, you can use high specific heat. Okay, not only the highest, high specific heat. Okay, higher latent heat of evaporation. Okay, the latent heat of evaporation is very high. It is not going to easily evaporate. Okay, in order to evaporate, okay, the latent heat of evaporation, that means the capability to store energy is very high. Okay, higher latent heat of evaporation, higher latent heat of evaporation. Okay, evaporation at lower pressures. Okay, at lower pressures we will have a highest latent evaporation. Okay, that is the second thing. And the third thing is that it is a neutral for the most of the contacting material. So whatever the contact material that you have, whether you are using SS316, SS3, whatever the material that you are using, most of the time it is neutral. Okay, when it is attached to the particular material, most of the time it is having a neutral behavior. So that is a very important thing. It is having neutral behavior. And then it is easily flowing liquid because of the balanced viscosity. it is flowing very easily compared to any other thing. The pumping cost or other kind of things are very less. Easy flowing nature. Okay, it is having easy flowing nature. That is the fourth thing. And the fifth thing is that it is a odorless, colorless, many other toxic. There is no other toxics also. And somebody said it is easily available. It's very cheap. And that means we are easily getting water. So that's why we are not able to understand the importance of the water. And then it is a non-corrosive. Okay, until and unless it is mixed with the oxygen and ammonia. Okay, if the water is water is not good. Okay, if water is pollutant, until and unless it is most of the time it is a non-corrosive material. So because of all those reasons, okay, it is a very, very important thing for so that's why you're using water. Okay, so that is a very, very important thing that you need to remember. Okay, I think I mentioned these things. High specific heat, latent heat of evaporation is high. Neutral fluid for the most of the contacting material, and easy flowing fluid, which is going to be reduce the pumping cost. Okay, so this is a very important thing. And there are many advantages when you're talking about a steam. Okay, many advantages when you're talking about a steam. So there is a one disadvantage because of using the steam. Let's discuss about the steam. Okay, that is the specific volume of a steam. The volume of the steam is a very, very biggest problem when you're talking about this one. Okay, when it comes to the safety. Okay, when you're talking about safety, when you're using water, the specific volume. Okay, the specific volume is the very, very dangerous thing. Why the specific volume is a very dangerous thing? Let me explain. Sorry. Steam tables. If you go to steam tables and steam calculator, here I go with the one of the website. Okay, where I am going with the steam calculators, and here I am giving a pressure for 1 bar. Okay, 1 bar gauge pressure that I am giving for my steam pressure. Okay, let's say my steam pressure is one bar gauge. Okay, I am giving that value here. Okay, and I am going to calculate it. Okay, after calculation, you can see here two values are very important to understand. Okay, if you know the saturated water at 1 bar pressure, okay, the volume is 0.001. Okay, the volume is 0.001. At the same temperature, the saturated steam is having a volume of 0.880. So the volume ratio, okay, when it is in a liquid condition, that is 0.0001. Okay, when it is in a vapor condition, 0.088. Okay, now if you look at the ratio, okay, the change in volume, okay, just from converting saturated liquid to the saturated vapor is 0.088 divided by 0.0001 into 1000 gives 80,000 times. So when the water is converted as steam, the volume is increasing up to 80,000 times. When the volume is increasing up to 80,000 times, you can imagine the pressure that is built within the vessel. That is exactly like as a fired gunpowder. It is like a bullet vessel. Okay, so if you don't calculate exactly the changes that are happening in the volume, okay, within the system, there is a very, very huge damage or huge industrial disasters are going to be happen. So that is a very, very important thing. When you are talking about a boiler, always remember the safety, the major safety is related to the specific volume, because 88,000% of change in volume is there for meter cube per kg. Okay, so in such kind of designing of vessel, okay, because the boiler is also a kind of vessel, in such kind of designing of vessels that are called fired vessels. Okay, that kind of vessels are called you have a design called fired pressurized. Okay, we are going for fired pressurized vessel design. So now it is not like a normal vessel design. It is called as a fired pressurized vessel design. Okay, so this is the very important thing that you need to understand about the volume. So most of the time, have you ever understand? For example, let's say. Okay, let's say for example, you have a process industry. Okay, in a process industry, somewhere at a point, you required 3 bar gauge. Okay, and another place in somewhere, okay, another part in somewhere you required 2 bar gauge. Okay. And another part in a process industry, somewhere you required 1.5 bar gauge. So the maximum requirement of a pressure for a process industry is 3 bar gauge. Okay, 3 bar gauge is the maximum. Okay, the maximum power requirement that is available. Okay, 3 bar gauge. So because the 3 bar gauge pressure is available, I am not going to use the boiler to manufacture 3 bar gauge pressure, because if we look at the specific volume at 3 bar gauge, 3 bar gauge pressure for a particular volume, for example, whatever the volume that my steam had at 3 bar gauge is very high compared to 7 bar gauge. So it is very easy for me to manufacture at 7 bar gauge at lesser volume. Okay, because if I go for a 3 bar gauge volume, then I have to go with a very huge boiler drum. I don't want to go for that much of huge amount of boiler drum. So that's why I am generating steam at higher end, 7 bar gauge. And when it is required, I use a control valve. I can reduce up to 1.5. I can reduce up to 2 bar. I can reduce up to 3 bar. So these kind of concepts will come at steam engineering. Okay, but you have to understand why even the requirement is 3 bar gauge in a process industry. Why at the higher end of boiler production, why you are going for up to 7 bar gauge? Okay, why you are going with very high pressure? That is the major reason. The specific volume. The specific volume is a very, very, very important factor when you're talking about a boiler, and that is the major reason for the disasters. Okay, and now because there is a disasters are there are some safety regulations are required. Okay, those safety regulations are nothing but IBR regulations. Okay, so just check is what is IBR regulations. Okay, it is like 22.75 liters. Okay, if there is any enclosure vessel which is greater than 22.75 liter and try to producing a steam, okay, then it's comes under IBR. Okay, and then any pressure which is greater than 3.5 bar gauge is also comes under IBR, or any steam piping, okay, which is having more than 254 mm. Okay, more than 254 mm, it is also comes under IBR regulations. See, I personally had an experience with the boilers. Okay, because when I started my startup, okay, after my completion of my education, I designed a normal equipment, okay, a customized equipment in a lab manner for the lesser production. It is giving very good amount of product. Okay, in terms of quality, I'm getting very higher amount of quality in a vitamin extraction, but the capacity, okay, the plant capacity is very less. So that's why what I did is that I would like to increase the heating effect to my system. Okay, that where I have a water, I have to increase the heating system. So I tried heating it, but because I don't, I don't estimated that what is the specific heat of the water which is going to be happen. What kind of things that I need to take care of it, and I used the glass to visualize what exactly happening inside my equipment. A kind of pilot plant that I designed. So in such a time, because of I increased the excess amount of heat to my water or any kind of boiler, so there was a huge blast was happened in my pilot plant. Okay, when I was when I was designing my first pilot plant, my startup, I experienced a very huge, change in specific volume, and there was a blast was happened. Okay, because of my luck, I was not present at the time. Okay, I just running a plant. I was just sleeping, just beside some after my room. So because of that reason, there is no such kind any damage was happened. I personally experienced that. What is the problem of this specific volume? You have to calculate everything, and you have to take a calculated risk related to that kind of thing. And don't play with the pressurized cookers. Okay, during that time. Okay, so if you don't have comfort with those kind of things, don't play with that. That is very important thing. And now the capacity of a boiler mostly considered as production rate at a specific pressure. For example, like the steam I am generating is 5000 kg per hour. Okay, this is capacity at 7 bar gauge. So this is how you have to explain the boiler capacity. What is the boiler capacity? The boiler capacity is 5000 kg per hour at a 7 bar gauge pressure. You have to explain, not just a 500 kg, not just a 7 bar gauge. Okay, you have to explain when somebody asks what is the boiler capacity. It is 5000 kg per hour for 7 at 7 bar gauge. The pressure, at what pressure you are manufacturing, at what rate per hour that is manufacturing, that is also the very important thing. So these are the things that you need to understand. What is a boiler? What is the process applications of a boiler? Why you are using only steam? So for example, let's say why you are using steam. What is the specialty of a boiler? Okay, somebody asks what is the specialty of a boiler? Because most of the time in industries we are using steam, and steam is a very powerful thing. And like this, you can explain that thing. So with that concept, it is not a beyond the interview level. For example, if you take any chemical engineering concept, That chemical engineering concept is like ocean. Okay, from one point to one point you can able to reach. But when it comes to these kind of limited structural concept like boilers, HVAC system, cooling towers, so these things are mixed. Some of the things are mixed with the mechanical engineering things. So the questions which we are expecting during interview or during some other time, or at any time, okay, they're very limited, and these concepts will give you the some good confidence in us. Okay, when you learn such kind of things, when you learn something new, you will get some confidence. So such kind of capability these concept had boilers. Okay, it is my one of favorite subject. And then boiler, when you say boiler is not a single equipment. Okay, boiler is not just a single equipment, because when I am saying a boiler, okay, it is simply, this is an equipment, this is a boiler. Okay, it is not like this. The boiler contains, I think, let me check whether I missed anything or not. Okay, I talk about water, and then boiler safety requirements. Okay, specific volume. Boiler act like a fired gunpowder. The pressurizer, fired pressurized vessel design is also required. Okay, we discussed already about such kind of thing. And then IBR regulations. Okay, 2.257 liters, 3.5 bar gauge. Okay, the same thing that I mentioned. And boiler is not a single equipment. Okay, boiler contain many things. It's contain feed water system, it's contain steam system, it's contain fuel system, and it's contain auxiliaries. Okay, so it is contain many parts. We will discuss about one by one. Okay, let's say feed water system. Okay, let's talk about the feed water system. Feed water is in the system is nothing but let's say typical diagram of a boiler. Okay, a schematic diagram of boiler. Let's say this is a boiler. For this boiler, I required feed water, I required fuel, I required air. Okay, all those things are required to give an inlet to the boiler. And from outlet, I will get flue gases, I will get steam, and flue gases, and I will get some, if I use a solid or something, I will get some ash or something. So some blow down is also there. So this is how typically the boiler looks like. Okay, maybe I missed something. Okay, feed water, and then fuel, and then air, blow down, and we are having some ash or some other thing, and then we are having flue gases, and we are having steam, and then that is connected to steam pump, or it's typical schematic diagram of a boiler. So now, what is a feed water system? Okay, and there are some thumb rules when you're talking about. Okay, there is some book called Power Plant Engineering or something. I didn't remember. Okay, when I attended a guest lecture, when I attended, okay, guest lecture in ISRO, that means I'm not giving, I just attended. Okay, at the time, they mentioned something like 1 degree rise in temperature of a boiler feed water. For example, I have a boiler feed water. If I can able to increase the boiler feed water temperature up to 1 degree, 2 degree, or 3 degree, there is an incremental of boiler efficiency. Okay, there is some thumb rules. Okay, increasing 1 degree temperature, increasing 1 degree temperature of fuel. So like this, if there is any input which is entered into the boiler, and if there is a 1 degree incremental of temperature, that will be helpful for us. Okay, that much of 1 degree, because in order to rise 1 degree of water, you require a specific cut 4.134 joule per something like this. So if you are having a very huge amount of water, for huge amount of water, even if you would like to increase 1 degree of temperature when it is entering to the boiler, so that is a very huge amount of energy that you're saving. So when you're talking about the feed water system, the feed water system should be in such a way where we can able to give more amount of temperature as an inlet. Whenever we are giving something to the boiler, the water, make sure that we are giving it very good temperatures. Okay, so in order to give it good temperatures, we are not preheating that. We are not preheating by using another external source or something. Let's say how the boiler feed water system looks like. Okay, for example, let's say I have a tank. Okay, I have a tank. For example, if I had a tank, in the tank I have some water. Okay, that is a boiler feed water tank. Let's say it is having some water. So whenever there was a requirement, some amount is going to be sent to boiler by using some boiler feed pump. Okay, and it is going to be entering into the boiler. Okay, let's say it is entering into the boiler. Okay, whenever it is entering to the boiler, so obviously I have a feed tank, and obviously it is coming to there. Okay, so I require to, when the water is getting consumed by the boiler, I require some backup water. Okay, I want some water line should become, okay, somewhere, okay, to make up, okay, to, that means to add some water in it. Okay, so before adding a water, okay, before adding a water to this tank, what we are going to do is that we are going to heat exchange. We are going to give this heat to the water, maybe from some place, okay, maybe within a process industry where some steam condensates are there. Okay, after you are utilizing steam in a process industry, some steam condensate is coming at higher temperatures. Okay, there are some steam condensate which is coming at some high temperature, and there is unused steam or some, you know, somewhere from definitely some point, maybe either it is a process fluid or maybe it may be utility fluid. From some point they are coming. Okay, so what we are doing is that we are utilizing them to preheat this makeup water. Okay, so whatever the makeup water that is preheated, that is entering to the this boiler tank, and the whatever the hot condensate which is coming and which is giving heat to this particular water, that is also sending back. Okay, that is also sending back to the boiler. Okay, and it is having a level controller. Okay, it is having a level control that whenever there was a level requirement is there, automatically makeup water is coming. And if there is any gases are there, for example, if there is any gases are there in this particular condensate, okay, which is coming here, okay, in this. So in order to reduce that, we are giving at the bottom, So like this, the feed water system is designed in a such a way where there is a possibility of energy integration and where there is a possibility of, okay, giving maximum amount of hot water that you can able to give it to the system. So that is very important. In a such a way, in a such an integrated manner, we are going to generate a feed water system. We can directly give it, but we have to give it in a such a way. The feed water system should be like this. Okay, that is a very important thing. And then because there is some hot water which is there in this particular tank. Okay, there is a hot water is there in this particular tank. Because the hot water is there in the particular tank, when the hot water is entering to the pump, okay, if there is any lesser vapor pressure at the suction end, there is a problem of cavitation. Okay, for example, if this water, whatever the water that I had, if it is reaches its vapor state because of the temperature at the pump, at the boiler feed pump, at the suction, okay, it is converted as a vapor. After increasing the pressure in the outer, because the pump intention is to increase the pressure. So at the outer end, whatever the vapor which is converted is, if it is converted as a liquid, there is a huge amount of vibration, mechanical vibrations, huge amount of damage that can happen to the boiler feed pump. So you make sure that the feed water should be at higher temperature. If it is in a higher temperature and if it is in a possibility of converting as a vapor before the boiler feed, okay, before the boiler feed pump, then there is a problem of vibration and there is a problem of cavitation. There is a huge mechanical damage that is going to be happen to the plant. So that's why we have to maintain, okay, we have to maintain a proper head at the suction. We have to maintain a required head at the suction. So that is the reason. Okay, so that is the reason there are some calculations are there here. For example, if the feed water temperature is 86 degrees centigrade, we have to maintain the height of 1.5 meter. Okay. If you have 90 degrees centigrade, you have to maintain the height of 2.1 meter. So you have to maintain, if the boiler feed tank has 95 degrees centigrade, then we have 350. If it is 100, we have to 5.20. So based on the temperature that you're maintaining within the tank height should be, okay, the difference between the tank and as well as the boiler feed pump suction, okay, at the end to end, like, you know, exactly to the center, should be these kind of distances that you have to maintain to provide a better pumping without any cavitation and other kind of things. So when you're talking about a feed water system, it is not just a feed water but just a pump. There are many problems because, as I told you now, converting into vapor into liquid into vapor, such kind of game is a very, very dangerous game. It is going to damage equipment. It is going to damage many kind of things in the process. So that is the reason you have to make sure that there is no such kind of problems. And in order to do that, these are the values that you need to remember. So just 4 values. Okay, what are the things that I'm showing? Just 4 values. In a literature, you have a very huge. Okay, but you should know why you have to put a feed water tank at its height. You should know that. And the values are everywhere. The values are in the internet. The values are everywhere. Okay, don't bother about the values and formulas, but you should know why the boiler feed tank is at high. Okay, so that is also the very important interview question. Okay, which is very important thing. Okay, remember that. So that is about a boiler system. And as I told you, boil feed water system and then steam system, like, what are the flanges, what are the number of bands, and what is the minimum distance that I can able to maintain the steam to reduce the pressure drop. So such kind of all these things comes under the steam system. As I told you, it is not only the process related, it is related to the piping also. I mean, the mechanical engineers also. And then fuel system. Okay, as like I'm talking about fuel. Okay, a fuel tank. Okay, and what kind of fuel it is. Whether it is a fuel, solid fuel, or gaseous fluid, or a liquid fluid. If it is a solid fluid, what is the things that I have to take it? For example, it is a solid fluid. So in order to increase the surface area, there is a pulverization unit is required. So after pulverization unit, we required a tray kind of conveyor belts to move that particular fuel to this particular up to this mark. So such kind of things are required. When it comes to the fuel system contains the fuel tank, and if it is a solid one, you require a pulverizing, you require a pulverizing kind of things, and you require the things which is related to conveyor belt to carry the fluid. So all the things. So in order to run the system at its optimum level, in order to run it without any problem, what are the all possible scenarios that we have to do it, and in that this fuel system are there. And when it comes to the auxiliaries, these fans, okay, these fans, cooling tower, these fans, and then when you are talking about a boiler insulation, okay, the boiler tank is a required insulation because to reduce radiation or convective heat transfer to the atmosphere, to reduce the loss, that boiler tank should have that insulation. All such kind of things. Okay, all such kind of things are very, very important. So the boiler, as I told you the boiler is not just a single equipment to give a single definition. It is contain many things based on the capacity of that. Okay, I see the boiler which is a very at lower, very very small boilers also I look at for the pilot plants, and I look at the very, very big boilers also, and I look at the supercritical boilers also. Okay, there is something like supercritical boilers. That means supercritical boiler is nothing but we are operating. For example, we have a steam curve. Okay, there is some concept called supercritical boilers. So let's say this is a steam curve. Okay, subcooled liquid, saturated vapor, superheated. So beyond this point, okay, beyond this point, there is a beyond critical pressure, beyond critical temperature. This point is called something. This place is called some. Other than talking about critical point, there is another name is there for this particular phase. I cannot able to remember exact technical name. So if the boiler pressure and temperatures, steam pressure and temperature at this particular phase, those are called supercritical boilers. Okay, somebody message. Okay, x and y axis. Okay, enthalpy, this is enthalpy. This is pressure, something like this. Pressure, temperature, and this is enthalpy. Okay, so normal steam curve. Okay, the steam curves now. So the steam curves. So that's why most of the time what I told you, for the people who are interested for this mini diploma course, okay, they are final year students. Okay, and they should be the professionals. Okay, any students which is third year or second year, for those people it is not. Okay, third year is also okay sometimes to join in this particular mini diploma, but first year and second year students are not eligible for this program. Okay, even for third year also. Okay, final year student and as well as professionals, and sometimes if the people are good at some concept, then they are okay. So when I just write as this particular steam curve means you should understand. Okay, what is the x-axis, what is the y-axis, or such kind of things. It's very important because those are basics. Okay, maybe you may confuse because of looking many of the graphs. Okay, that is completely fine, but it is maybe okay. And feed water tank I talked about. Okay, so sometimes what will happen, and when you are talking about the feed water should be somewhat quality water. For example, let's say what is happening, there is a some boiler is there. Okay, we are giving some feed water to this. Okay, and after that what is happening, this water is getting evaporated. Okay, what is getting evaporated, that means converting as steam. So all the there is a what I can say, there is a all the salts and everything is going to be precipitate like this. Okay, the concentration on everything is going to be increased. So that's why the people will do blow down. But if you don't have a quality of water, the keep on you have to do the blow down. Okay, continuously you have to do the blow down sometimes. Okay, there are some manual operations are there, and then automatic things also there, and some of the things are checking the pH and everything of the water, quality of the vapor, and they're producing, and they are based on that they are making sure that what is the blow down calculation that is required. So they are doing. So whenever there was a blow down happen, that is also nothing but loss of energy. Okay, that means you are, when the blowdown is happening, we are releasing hot water to the, outside of the boiler. That means it is nothing but you are losing, okay, you're losing heat to the from the boiler. It is going out of the boiler. So that is also the another important thing. So that is the reason, always make sure that we can able to have a feed water at very good position. And then this feed should not contain, okay, already automatically whenever you're talking about a water, this water contain oxygen, and when it is having oxygen, the chances of having ammonia is also high. Okay, ammonia. So when you are having this O2 and ammonia, such kind of things, this ammonia is going to affect copper kind of bearings or anything within a boiler, and this O2 and the presence of CO2 is going to give a corrosion. So sometimes what will happen, because the water is running toward the steam. So each and every time I'm not going for the fresh water now. So whatever the water that is used, I can able to reuse. So maybe the water, whatever the feed water that I would like to give it for the boiler, that feed water contain carbon dioxide, oxygen, this ammonia, some dissolved gases are there. So that's why before it is entering to the boiler, I have to use deaerator to reduce those gases. For example, let's say it is a deaerator, it's a kind of equipment. It's a kind of system where I am going to give water it here, and here where I have some trace, okay, this is the trace, and where I am giving some steam here. So what I'm giving, I am giving a contact in between steam and water, feed water. So because of that reason, at higher temperature, there is a very less chances of dissolving gases in a water like oxygen, ammonia, or any kind of gases. So here the chances of removal of those dissolved gases are high, and then this water is coming here, and here we are going to maintain some liquid height, okay, in the deaerator. So from this liquid height, after we make sure that these dissolved gases are removed, all these gases are removed, then this feed water is entering to the boiler. So not only the feed tanks, and after it is coming from a feed tank, in order to make sure that there is no gases in it, there is no such kind of things are in it, we are going deaerators we are using, and we are sending, after removing of these gases, we are sending to the boiler. So that is also the very important thing when it comes to the water, because water is a major thing. No? This is coming and this is getting evaporated. That is the utility. So you should go with the better possibilities when you are giving input to the water. But that is a very important thing. And then it is converted as steam, and then we are utilizing that steam, all those storing, okay, all those game is going to be happen. Okay. Now, so this is the basic thing that you need to understand about the boilers, like, okay. So like feed water system, and then boiler or such kind of things, you need to understand about these kind of things. And after that, the fuel is coming, and then the fuel is burning, different type of burners are there. Okay, as I already told you about, for example, I explained about this carbon example, okay, in the previous classes. For example, let's say you have a carbon particle, okay, and by taking the oxygen from the atmosphere, it is going to be burned. Okay, during the burning process, what it is happening, it is going to form a layer of ash. Okay, during the process of burning, what is happening on the surface, there is a layer of ash is forming. So whatever the layer of ash that is forming, it is not allowing oxygen to reach the surface of the inner coal. So the combustion is getting reduced. So what is happening, because of the thing which is happened, which is created because of a reaction, that is acting as a mass transfer resistance for the process. So in such kind of solid, solid fuels or such kind of things, there are many kind of things. Okay, fluid catalytic boilers are there, and then in order to remove this, this particular ash, there are very high amount of high speed, air inputs are there. So different kind of burners are there. So many mechanical or other kind of, structural things are there for when it comes to the what kind of burning, burning fuel, burning coil that you're using, or everything varies. Okay, everything varies based on the things. Okay, so this is all about the boiler basic things. Okay, now we will talk about a boiler efficiency. Okay, it is around 10 to 20 minutes of time. Okay, as I told you that this is just a calculation, but you have to understand why these calculations are required. So it is around 10 to 20 minutes. Okay, just give me a 5 minutes of time. Okay, I will drink some water and I will come back. Okay, now the time is 21:20. I will be back exactly at 20:25. Okay, don't miss it. Very important concept. After this concept, you can write boiler efficiency calculations in your resume, and which is very, very tempting for the interviewers. For example, nobody will write boiler efficiency most of the time. Okay, if you look at the resumes, very less people will write boiler efficiency calculations or something, or boilers or something. Boilers, cooling towers, HVAC system. Okay, such kind of things. Very less people will talk about such kind of things. So here, if you see, okay, in our website, okay, we have a website, learnprocessengineering.com. Okay, this is our website, as I already told you, introduced it. And here in this mini diploma, if you look at this particular course, okay, here we have provided many things. Okay, so here, okay, because of by me, plant commissioning, piping network, cooling towers, and then HVAC system, okay, and then plant safety, plant commissioning, and so many things, interview tips. So around 15 hours of session is going to be conducted by me. Okay, in this mini diploma program, 15 hours of session is going to be conducted by me, 15 hours, and then remaining 10 hours by another person, and then another 15. Total, we have 3 trainers. Okay, we have total 3 trainers in this particular mini diploma program, and then each and everyone is a very well experienced. Okay, so they are very experienced than me. Okay, I am a person who is doing startup and other kind of things, and there are 3 people is there. This is me, and she is another Pooja, and she is Prashant. Okay, so they are having more than 15 to 16 years experience, and they have a very good knowledge of teaching. So in this mini diploma program, myself, I am taking around 14 hours of session. Okay, and remaining people will take, one person will taking 10 plus 10, and another is taking 15. Total 45 hours of session, which is a very powerful. Okay, which is very powerful. Okay, give me just 5 minutes of time. I will be back, and we will discuss boiler efficiency calculation. Don't miss this part. Okay. Sorry, you're not listening my voice now. Okay, you have to message me. Okay, I'm talking from last 5 minutes. Okay, you have to tell me now when I'm writing something on the screen. You have to tell me. Okay, what I'm talking. Okay, I explained about a question that is asked by someone in the chat that they said they asked me to repeat something. Okay, I repeated related to this volume, specific volume. For example, you have a water bottle. Okay, most of the time, this is the latest water bottle design. Okay, if you put 1 liter of water here, okay, it will enough as a saturated liquid, up to saturated liquid. When it's become as a saturated vapor, you require 88,000 times of this volume to make, I mean, to put that particular 1 liter of water. Okay, so that is the huge impact that specific volume had, because the boiler is a game of converting water into, water into steam. So there is a lot of this much of huge change happen that can able to increase the pressure within the boiler, where the boiler act as a bullet. Okay, where boiler act like a bullet. So that's why the specific heat is very important. Okay, now I'm talking about a boiler efficiency. When I'm talking about a boiler efficiency can be done by the two things. Okay, boiler efficiency by two methods. One is a direct method and another one is the indirect method. Okay, so one is a direct method and another is an indirect method. We are going to talk about these two things about the boiler efficiency. And now, see, most of the time there is a boiler efficiency is going to be affected because of the poor combustion. Okay, when the fuel is not combustion well. Okay, when the fuel is not completed combustion. Okay, partial combustion or incomplete combustion, such kind of things will happen now. So that is going to be affected. And heat transfer surface area fouling. Okay, because if you don't use a pure water, the fouling can be happen. So that fouling is going to be reduce the heat transfer. So obviously the fuel, whatever the fuel which is consumed, which is released is calorific value. Okay, the heat that is not going to be absorbed by the water. So there may be a problem. And poor operation. Okay, this is related to the skills of the particular labor, and not adapting regular maintenance. Okay, not doing maintenance, and poor quality of fuel, poor water quality, and no blowdown consideration. Okay, there are many reasons. Okay, which is going to be affect you, from all these things. Okay, and then as I told you, there are two kind of methods are there. One is direct method and another one is a indirect method. So what is a direct method? In the direct method, it is a ratio heat output to heat input. Okay, what is the heat that you are giving as input and what is the heat which is coming as output? That is a ratio. Okay, heat input by the heat output and heat input. The ratio of heat input and heat output is the nothing but a direct method. For example, let's say heat output divided by heat input into 1000. Okay, in a direct method, we are simply saying that heat output divided by heat input. In a direct method, heat input divided by heat output into 100. So very simple. Okay, that means what is the, for example, let's say, what is the heat inlet that you are giving? The heat inlet that you are giving is nothing but you are burning of fuel. Okay, so the fuel calorific value, how many kgs that you are burning? So that is the overall amount of heat that you are giving. Okay, you should know what is the fuel and you should know what is the calorific value of that fuel. And because of burning, how many kgs of fuel that you are burning? So the multiplier of that value is going to give you the what is the overall heat input. And when it comes to the heat output, what is the heat output? We are getting heat output as a steam. What is the steam? What is the pressure of the steam? And what is the specific heat? I mean, what is the enthalpy that steam had? Okay, so based on that, we are going to do that. What is the heat input and what is the heat output? So that you can see here in this particular book. See, heat input output divided by, sorry, it is heat output. Okay, heat output divided by heat input into 100 is a direct method. Okay. And then when you're talking about a direct method, you should know something like quantity of steam generated. So how much amount of quantity of steam generated is very important. Okay, because based on that, you have to find out how much amount of heat output was generated. Okay, the quantity of fuel consumed, how much amount of fuel consumed, how much amount of steam generated. Okay, the working pressure of steam, what pressure you generated a steam is also required. A temperature of a steam, the temperature and pressure is also required in order to find out how much amount of heat that steam contain. What is the enthalpy of that? Okay, steam temperature of generated and the type of steam generated, either it was a saturated steam or a superheated or a wet steam. Okay, that is also important. And temperature of the feed water. What is the feed water temperature? Okay, how much it is taking? Okay, from feed water temperature to it is converted as a superheated steam or saturated steam or wet steam. So how much amount of heat it is taken during the journey? What is the amount of heat that you are given because as of from the fuel, and how much it is converted from the temperature of water to the saturated steam, super steam or wet steam. So all those things are required, and the fuel gross calorific value is also required. Okay, so these things are required, and here there is a small example is there. Okay, enthalpy of saturated steam, many things are there, and based on that they calculated. Okay, they calculated around 76%. Okay, most of the time it was coming like 70, 75, 80, 70 to 80. In a direct method, what will happen? We are just calculating what is the heat output divided by what is the heat input into 100. Nothing is happening. Because of that, there is a many disadvantages are there. Okay, because we are calculating boiler efficiency by direct method. Okay, simple. Let me explain the direct method once again very clearly. See, initially I have a boiler. For the boiler, I am giving a fuel. So this fuel will have some gross calorific value. Okay, this GCV per kg of fluid or something. Okay, kg of fuel something. So how much amount of fuel is burning? So based on that, you can able to calculate the total amount of calorific value that was generated, total amount of, and then we are having a feed water at 20 degrees centigrade. This feed water 20 degrees centigrade is converted up to 120 degrees centigrade saturated vapor at 1.5 atmosphere. So in order to raise the temperature from 20 to 120 degrees centigrade saturated vapor at 1.5 bar, it is going to be take some heat. So that is the heat output value, and this is the heat input value, that is into 100 is going to the boiler efficiency. There may be many factors that are affecting this boiler efficiency, but when you are calculating by using direct method, it is just like what is the boiler efficiency, nothing else. But as a process engineer, what is your intention? In order to increase the boiler efficiency, okay, in order to increase the boiler efficiency, you should calculate what are the parameters that are affecting boiler efficiency and what are the controlling things that I can able to do to increase the boiler efficiency. Then only that will be useful. If you just calculate it by direct method, you will get numbers. You cannot do anything with that numbers. You cannot change anything, but you want control. You want control on the boiler efficiency. In order to get a control on boiler efficiency, there is an indirect method is there, which is very important. Let's say, for example, this is a boiler. Okay, if this is a boiler, this boiler has a feed water, this boiler has a fuel, this boiler has a air. Okay, and here I am getting flue gases. That means waste gases. I am getting steam on the top of the column, and I am getting some fly ash, and I am getting some blowdown. So this is what happening. Okay, this is what the boiler looks like. So in a direct method, what is the inlet and what is outlet divided by inlet into 100 is giving, but it is not giving anything. Okay, the ideal boiler efficiency is 100. Okay, that means everything is converted as a vapor. That means the ideal boiler efficiency is 100 degree, 100%. Okay, now we have to delete one by one. Okay, from this 100, we have to delete one by one. For example, let's say we have flue gases. Okay, initially we are having air. Okay, we are having air, and here what is happening? This air is entering, and it is coming as a flue gases. So initially maybe the air is at room temperature like 35 degrees centigrade or 60 degrees centigrade or some degrees centigrade. So this air is entering, and it is taking a heat. Okay, it is taking a heat from the boiler, and it's coming as a flue gases. That means these flue gases is taking a heat. That means the flue gases are removing some heat. That means it is affecting efficiency. They are taking heat. They are not utilizing by you. So that is nothing but minus. Dry flue gases. Okay, dry flue gases are one of the minus. And then there may be some excess amount of oxygen. For example, in the air, there may be some excess amount of oxygen is there. That oxygen is coming and not participating in the reaction. It is taking heat and is leaving. So excess amount of air percentage is also affecting, and then the blowdown is also affecting. Okay, and then this fly ash removal is also affecting. So this 100 minus all these kind of things. Okay, 100 minus this dry flue gases, 100 minus this excess amount of oxygen, 100 minus this blowdown, 100 minus this fly ash. So all these kind of things also we have to delete from the 100. Okay, so that is the indirect method. In the indirect method, see, heat loss through, there are many heat losses. Okay, we have 100, that 100 minus, there are many heat losses. Okay, the heat losses through dry flue gases. Okay, as I told you that initially the air is coming, what are the flue gases that are leaving the boiler is at higher temperatures. That means they are taking some amount of heat. That means that is not useful for you. That is inefficiency. Okay, that is where you are losing some efficiency. And then heat losses from the moisture in the fuel. If there is a moisture in the fuel, that moisture is also taking a heat. So that is again, okay, the fuel itself taking some heat for itself. It is consuming the fuel, that what are the moisture that is there in the fuel, the moisture itself taking some heat. So that is also a problem. That is also inefficiency. And heat loss due to moisture in the combustion air, whatever the air that you are taking, if it is not a dry air, if it is containing some moisture, again the moisture is also taking heat and it is also leaving as a flue gas. And heat losses due to combustion of hydrogen. Okay, if there is a hydrogen in the fuel, if it is burned, that is forming water vapor. So again, that is a problem. Heat loss due to unburnt fluid. Okay, if there is any unburnt fluid, okay, if the fluid is not burned well, that is again the inefficiency. And the radiation and other unaccountable losses in the boiler. So when I'm talking about a direct method, I don't know what are the losses. But when I'm talking about indirect method, these are all the losses. If I can able to prevent these losses, automatically I can able to increase the boiler efficiency. Okay. Now we will look at one by one. Can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me properly? Yeah, thank you. Because it is loading. Okay, my file is loading, so that's why I thought. Just a minute. The kids are using this. Okay, I just logged out of my book. So just a minute. 473175. So in an indirect method, you understand now. So what is the inlet and what is outlet? Whenever there is outlet on the boiler, there is a possibility of losses of heat. So you have to reduce those losses of heat. Okay. So in order to reduce that, first of all, what are the things that you need to calculate, and later on we have to understand what is the thing. Engineering. Okay, there was a small problem that was happened. In this boiler efficiency calculations. Just a minute. Okay, the book is not opening because of some login issues. Can you able to see my screen now? Okay, can you able to see my screen? Yeah. See now what is happened? Okay, we have boiler feed, we have like fuel, we have gas and everything. So let's say we are getting something flue gases. We are getting flue gases out of it. So what is the flue gases percentage? What is the composition of a flue gases? What is the specific of flue gases? And based on that, we have to find out MCP delta T or some value, and you're going to get how much amount of flux that is happening. So in order to recover these flue gases, what you have to do is that you have to do the energy integration with the inlet air, whatever the inlet air that is coming. With that, you have to do the energy integration. Okay, if possible, you have to do the energy integration with this. Okay, so like this, we are going to we are going to increase whatever the heat that is losing from the boiler. We are going to giving that to the boiler feed water or boiler feed air or something. Because as I told you that increasing of any inlet temperatures of water, increasing of any inlet temperature of air, or increasing of any inlet temperatures are going to affect the things. Okay, so if I can, whatever the thing which is coming out of it boiler, if I can able to recycle it, okay, to increase the water temperature or to increase the temperature of these kind of things, will helpful for the boiler efficiency. Okay, so like this you can able to reduce these losses. Okay, and then excess amount of oxygen. Okay, for example, if you have excess amount of oxygen, that means we require oxygen to burn. If you have some extra amount of oxygen, what is the use of it? It is not participating in the reaction. It is taking out of coming out of the boiler, which is entering at 25 degrees centigrade and leaving at 500 degrees centigrade. So which is again huge loss. So there are some instrumentation controls are there, which is going to calculate oxygen percentage in the outlet. And sometimes if possible, okay, by using cryogenic distillation, we can able to separate the nitrogen from the oxygen. For example, you are giving nitrogen and oxygen in the air. Okay, the air contains both nitrogen and oxygen. Nitrogen is not useful for us. Okay, it is coming and it is leaving. It is coming at 25 degrees centigrade and leaving at 500 degrees centigrade. It is very huge loss for us. If you can able to separate air at the starting itself, okay, by using some cryogenic distillation or something, if you can able to get a pure oxygen, and if you give the sufficient amount of oxygen, the pure air, then at the time there is no such kind of nitrogen kind of things which are entering and which are leaving. So there is no such kind of losses. And if you can able to go with a good amount of water, okay, good amount of water as an inlet, okay, then the fouling factors are getting reduced, and as well as the chances of blowdown, okay, the repeated blowdown is getting reduced. Okay, so at the time you can able to reduce these losses. Okay, and if you go for the fuel which is a gas and liquid, there is no fly ash. Okay, there is no fly ash is not going to be formed. There is no option of doing that. Okay, if you go for fuels like liquids and if you go for the fuels like gases, there is no formation of these fly ashes. Okay, whatever the ashes that are forming, they are coming as flue gases on the top. For example, if you go with the solid, so there is a huge amount of fly ash generation is there. There is a problem again. So from the flue gases, whatever the heat that is going to the atmosphere, we can able to recover that. Okay, we can reduce X amount of oxygen by using removing of nitrogen at the starting itself, and then some instruments to calculate this O2, and then to reduce the blowdown iterations, and as well as so what are the all possibilities? What are the things which are coming out, lossing out? We can able to reduce them by using these kind of methods. Okay, so like that we have to go with the boiler efficiency. Okay. So I have an option that how to calculate this boiler efficiency. I mean, how much amount of heat that is losing because of this, how much amount of heat losing because of this, how much amount of load because of blowdown. So all those things we have a formulas, but the book is not getting loaded. Some internal problem of the server, because that is stored. Okay, that what are the documents or equation that you created now. So those are stored. Okay, I cannot able to access that file. Those are in a cloud now. Okay, those equations are not available. Okay, those are just a simple equations like, okay, like they are like 11 minus 11 into C plus 15 to S plus. Okay, but, it is like this. Okay, I will share you those things with my students. Okay, the people who are registered for the program, and for the people who didn't register, I mean, people who just attended this boiler to understand about this efficiency and boiler direct method, indirect method, and what are all the previous things that you discussed. Okay, all those things are very helpful for them. And do a little bit amount of research. Okay, what are the things that I explained? Prepare your own notes. Okay, based on the concept that you said, and then write boiler efficiency in your resume with the confidence. Okay, Now, if anybody had a doubts, can do that. Okay, somebody messaging some things. Okay, related to food or something. Then I'm going to remove them. Okay, from the meeting. So don't write, don't message unnecessary things in this. Okay. Yeah. If anybody had a doubts, they can ask me now. Okay. Anybody had a doubts on this particular boiler, they can ask me. Okay. And my students, I mean, people who are already registered for this program, my students, they can ask me whenever they want. Okay. This is about the boiler efficiency. Please allow microphone to unmute. Just a minute. Okay. If I do this, many people can unmute. Okay. Yeah. Unmute microphone. Aman.
So how can we prevent the scaling formation, soot formation in boiler tubes?
Once again, please repeat.
How can we prevent scaling formation or soot formation that happens in boiler tubes?
Okay, that is depend on many factors. Okay, for example, the scaling formation based on the quality of, first of all, the quality of a feed water is a very important factor. Okay, that is one thing. And second thing is that the formation of scaling will be high at the higher temperatures. Okay, because it is getting evaporated, keep on. Always there is some amount of reducing. So that is another important factor. And then the forced convective velocities. Okay, there is such kind of things like turbulence. Okay, whatever the turbulence that is happening within the tubes is also one of the parameter which is affecting that scaling options. So, and as well as the surface thickness, I mean smoothness, whether it is mirror finished or it can be any other so like this, not only these things, around 6 to 7 factors that are going to affect this. Many physical factors. Okay, other than process related factors. Okay, in the process point of view, whenever we have this kind of thing, obviously scaling will happen. But how much amount of scaling, the formation of scaling that is happening, all those things are depend on the many factors as I mentioned now. Okay.
Yes, sir. Actually, there is a regular shutdown in around 1 month for cleaning the boiler tubes.
Yeah, regular maintenance. Okay, that is the one
Yes,
of
sir,
the
yes.
yeah, because so there are such kind of disadvantages there. For example, let's say when you are having a boiler, okay, when you're having a boiler, we cannot shut down at the start, directly. Directly, it is not like switching off. Shutdowning a plant is not like a switching off.
Yes, sir. We can't directly stop
We can,
the feed water.
there is a process of reducing capacity of a boiler continuously. Whenever the boiler capacity reduced lesser than 25%, okay, if the boiler is operated lesser than its 25% of efficiency, 25% of capacity, then it is the most insufficient method. So whenever there is a process of shutdown or startup related to boilers record, during this maintenance, so that is a very huge problem that you are getting. So we should have some alternative, okay, some chemical dosing. Okay, sometimes what will happen, some chemical dosing is helping us, and not at the functioning of that, because as I told you, it is a very big game, dangerous game. So at the time, the chemical dosing or any kind of tube ruptures, very biggest problem. So for the maintenance of that, there is no option at this moment in order to do that. But it's a nice question. Please allow microphone. Yeah, already allowed. Yeah.
Yes, sir. The capacity of boiler is 5,000 kg per hours. It means the water flow rate is 5,000 kg per hour, not, or the generation of
steam, generation of steam. Okay, the steam only. Because it is in 7 bar gauge, what is producing? We are producing steam only. The product capacity, not the water or anything.
Okay, sir. Can you say the what is the difference between low pressure, medium pressure, and high pressure steam, and its application?
See, no, it's based on the process applications. That is completely, at what higher pressure. For example, let's say for thermal power plants, okay, for turbine rotation, obviously we are going with the high, this high power, high pressure steam. And each, and whenever it comes to the latent heat of evaporation, that is varies for each and every steam, for low pressure steam, high pressure steam, and the medium pressure steams. Okay, based on the what kind of process that you are using for, we are using that. There's a difference in terms of latent heat of evaporations for each and every thing. Okay, for example, the change in 10 degrees in a low medium fluid having a different energy levels, and for the medium different energy levels, and higher different energy levels. And what is required for our process? Okay, for example, like power plants, as I told you now, at the power plant, for those things, high pressure steams are required. For the heat sensitive materials, okay, for such kind of things, the less in order to avoid thermal cracking, low steams are required. The medium steams based on the these kind of things like preparation of food concentrating juices, or in such kind of things they'll use. That is varies.
So I asked them, there is any criteria that if the pressure is higher than 10 kg per centimeter square, it is called high pressure steam. Is it 5 to 6? It is called medium pressure steam.
Yeah, there is a rule. I mean, there is a table is there. I didn't remember exact values, but there is a, from this to this, there is something, there is there. It is there in the steam engineering at the starting itself. Okay, the steam considered as a 3 things. It is there. Okay, I will provide you that data with.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. Actually, I remember the numbers, but not the units. So that is the thing.
Okay, sir. Sir, can you say the IBR regulation on 1 second?
Yeah, IBR regulations.
Yes.
Yeah, it is around 3 things. Okay, if you have a closed vessel where you are trying to convert the liquid into vapor, or heating, increasing the temperature of water, which is greater than 22.75 liter, it should have a IBR regulations. Okay, and then pressure more than 3.5 bar gauge. Okay, at the time also it should pass the IBR regulations. Okay, the thickness and the operating pressures, and then design pressure of a boiler. So it should meet the IBR regulation. And the steam piping, which is more than 245 mm. Okay, where there is a drastic changes of there is a more, in such cases, the water hammer, the possibility of water hammers, because of a higher pressure drop during that particular system, the changes of vapor to liquid phases, so there is a huge amount of problematic things that may become during this steam piping also. So at this particular what is I can say diameter, this is also comes under IBR. Okay. And not only in India, this is IBR. There is another things like BVR, something. There is another regulations are also there. That is varies country to country. Okay.
And sir, what are the safety equipments? Like
What are the
safety equipments used in boilers?
which one? Safety.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, all the for example, as I told when you are going for a vessel design, okay, vessel design is not yet completed now. I think it is not yet completed. Vessel designing. During the designing of a vessel, okay. So first of all, there are 2 kind of criteria are there, like whether you are designing in atmospheric or at a higher pressure. As I told you, obviously it is a designing at higher pressure. Okay, whenever you are designing at higher pressure, so always there is a 3 kind of systems are there. When it comes to the safety, there are 3 kind of things. The first thing is that which is related to alarm. Okay, which is a kind of thing alarm. Okay, alarm means it is saying that the pressure is increased in this particular system. So that is the first thing, is giving a notification. Any kind of safety having three levels. Okay, one is alarm. So for in order to produce that, any kind of pressure sensor materials is available, which is connected to that. That is one thing related to safety. And the second thing is that releasing, like PSV. Okay, whenever there is excess amount of fees there, then automatically PSV popping out. Okay, the second amount of fees are related to PSV. And the third one is at an extreme case. Okay, even the PSV is also cannot able to do these drastic changes that are happening in the boiler. Then there is a ruptured disc which is going to be collapsed. Okay, during that, and it is going to be related to atmosphere. So all the pressure is going to be released to the atmosphere. So like this, we are having 3 steps. And other than these 3 safety precautions, insulation. Okay, for example, whatever the piping nearby that, where when there is an operator is going nearby that, okay, insulation related to that particular piping or a walls, okay, and then providing a infinite semi-solids. Okay, there is a concept called infinite semi-solids. Okay, so like this, creating creating a solid kind of thing where the heat transfer is very less. Okay, solid walls or such kind of some semi kind of semi-infinite solids, putting semi-infinite solids. So such kind of things. In the process point of view, three things: alarm, releasing, and rupture disk. Okay, these three things are there. And then when it comes to the operator safety, this insulation, these things come into the picture during the safety.
And sir, is there any temperature of the stack above which the flue gases should be released so that no corrosion happens to the stack chimney?
That is depend on environmental regulations also. Okay, as I told you about at the plant designing during Haskell-Assess timing, the environmental condition to release, okay, based on the government regulations also will be matter. Okay, at what where you are, in industrial zone they are acceptable, but there are some companies, that is varies. Okay, in terms of composition of carbon dioxide, the temperatures, the amount of vapor, even vapor, water vapor as releasing in the cooling towers is also have some restrictions. So that is varies. And in order to reach the requirement, what are the operation that you need to do as a process engineer? That is completely up to you. Okay, that is varies for each and every location. Okay, based on the
Thank you,
government
sir.
regulations. And most of the time, when when you talk about chimney, as I told you, semi-infinite solid kind of thing installation, that is that kind of mechanism useful for that during the chimney exhausting gases, where we are using the semi-infinite solids concept. Yeah. Okay, this is how we have to talk about the boiler efficiency, and I will share you the formulas also. Actually, at present, I don't have that access to them. I know I missed it, so I will rectify that, and I will share you this with the people. And okay, this is how the classes are going to happen. Okay, already the students are already joined, they know, but for the people who are going to be joined in the future, and for them, we are going to. I would like to show you them. This is how the classes are going to be happen, and if anybody would like to join this particular demo class, because the people who said I am interested in mini diploma, for those people I already share you everything information on what is the fees details. Once again, I will share you the details, and if the people are interested, the next batch classes are starting from December 15. It is may start from 10 or 15. So I will talk about those kind of things, and from next day onwards the regular classes will be there. Okay, for my students, or people who are already joined, okay, regular classes like this boiler efficiency is then like safety, and then commissioning, all those things are also going to be given by me. Around 15 hours of lecture is there by me, and after that, as soon as we complete it, because the batch is already started, and we have some because of some irregularities in the classes, and very less people are joining, so that is also another problem. So everybody please join the class. Okay, from it is exactly 8:30 to 9:30. So join the class and interact with the trainers, then only it will be helpful for you. So utilize the time and don't waste your time and money also. If you're interested, please let us know. Okay, and this is all for today, and thank you so much for having me. And please share the calculation for indirect efficiency. I will share. And what is the cost? Okay. Okay, this is all for today. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. And sometimes what will happen during this discussion, maybe I may be wrong at some point. Okay, maybe in overlooking or some point, maybe I was wrong. Okay, maybe I was not efficient to answer the question at the time. So if you still have a doubts, message me the doubts. Maybe I cannot able to answer right at this moment, but definitely we'll have an answer. That is very important. Okay, finding quick answer is not important. Finding out the answer is very important. Okay, so thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. Have a good day. Okay, from next time onwards, people who would like to chart in this, everyone's, don't join the classes. Thank you very much.